All right. Oh, there we go. Hi, everybody. We're here for another episode of Overdose and Chill. I have Sean from USCutter with me today, and let him introduce himself.
All right. My name is Sean Flaherty. I work at USCutter. I'm the head of marketing here. So I have been with USCutter for coming on 3 years now.
Yeah.
It'll be 3 years in June, so 2.5 years ish.
Yeah. And then, so just for the audience out there, my name's Keith Carlick. I'm the director of strategy here at Overdose, based in Seattle. USCutter is one of our clients that we've had in the Seattle area for a couple years now. And so, maybe just to kick us off, Sean, give us a little bit of an idea on who USCutter is and what you do there, and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so USCutter is a company that is mainly e-commerce. It's actually a really interesting history. I'll give you the quick history. USCutter began actually as a selling stuff on eBay store called Saletopia. They had one employee, and they started importing different things and selling them on eBay. And they found that there were these material cutters that people would use, similar to like a Cricut you get at the craft store, but they were kind of bigger, that would cut vinyl for signs and sign making. And there really wasn't something that was offered at a low cost. So when they started selling these, they sold like crazy. They brought in a truckload and sold them. They brought in 2 truckloads and sold them. And they could not keep them in stock, and soon realized that there was a need here for that kind of business. So actually created a business out of that, built a website, started an e-commerce company called USCutter, selling a lot of different versions of these material cutters that sign makers use to cut signs out of vinyl, make banners, those kind of things. We also sell all of the vinyl materials for sign making, all of those kind of at a lower cost to what was already in the market. Um, Grew really fast over the next 5 to 10 years, and now are pretty established in that space. We also offer equipment for garment decoration, so heat presses, the vinyl you make to make customized T-shirts or mugs, a lot of the promotional item industry, a lot of stickers, a lot of decals, a lot of store signage. As you've probably seen, a lot of the stand 6 feet apart signs in every store. We sell all of the equipment and materials to make all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's kind of an interesting space because you end up with folks that are, home craftsmen and DIY, and then you also have sign companies and other folks. Maybe speak to the who your customers are, and then also you guys have a couple locations spread across the country, right?
Right. So our customers, like you said, are really diverse. It's interesting because it is business to business, but there's also a lot of kind of working from home businesses. Being that we really lowered the barrier of entry of not having to buy a $10,000 piece of equipment, but you can buy something that's $300 or $400 and do a lot of those same jobs. Open that up to a lot of people in the crafting industry selling things on Etsy, all the way up to 1 and 2 man sign shops, up to kind of other local print and sign shops. There's kind of a wide variety, but kind of that small to medium business is a lot of what we sell. We do have 2 locations. Our main warehouse is in Memphis, and then our headquarters is in the Seattle area. And what we found was we have warehouses in both places, and people would come and locally they would pick up what they ordered to save on the shipping, or if they had questions, which became a really good upsell opportunity for us. So we started experimenting with retail locations, with opening retail locations where they can buy other things, people that are knowledgeable working there, and try to upsell them while they're there. And that actually became fairly successful to us, to the point of we just opened we moved to a new location in Seattle with a bigger retail space so that the customer experience is even better there.
Yeah, and having worked with you guys for a little while now, the interesting thing I find about walking into retail is there's a wall of color and sparkles and metal flakes from all the different vinyl materials. I mean, it's pretty crazy just the amount of colors and textures.
It's amazing because you have people that are doing, signs point to the restroom, and then you have to have material to offer someone who wants to make 13 different unicorns.
Hmm.
So there's this huge variety of materials that we sell, and it's amazing the use cases that you're getting from these. So you really have to think about, and that's part of our thing is really not just the breadth, but the depth of products. We've got heat transfer vinyl in this type, in this type, in this type, and you can get it in sparkles, or you can get it sparkles that are non-textured, or you can get sparkles that are, I mean, it's a huge amount of inventory when you walk into these places and you see what we have available as well as what we have online.
Hmm. Yeah, and how much of the tell me about the how the website supports retail and and back and forth and how maybe you guys have customers that are buying online, picking up in store. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that our web presence is 90% of what we do, of how we're found, of how we make our sales. Um, but I would say that locally, it's nice to have that retail presence from kind of a back and forth. One of customers being able to come in and actually use it as a showroom to see what they want to offer, but also because we get to hear what customers say. Our retail location is 25 feet from me. I could bring the camera out and we could go talk to customers right now. It's I'm not going to. Don't. That's a different
That'd
show.
be a new episode of
Yeah,
Overdose.
that would be a little less chill than what we're up for here. But uh, what is interesting about that is to have someone in marketing literally be able to overhear the questions of the retail customers that come in really drives a lot of ideas and a lot of the insight that we hear. It's kind of like this constant focus group of customers that are coming in, and you hear their feedback and their questions about, I never thought about it that way, or that seems so obvious to me. How do you not know what this thing does, or how do you not know the difference between this and this? And you get that perspective, which is really very valuable. And I think that more so, the sales from the retail, it's really just that customer interface that we can then reflect on the website to say, okay, people don't know the difference between this and this. We need to show that difference to them because a lot of these people are buying sight unseen and they're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for these things. So we need to be able to answer those questions. And, sometimes it's maddening. Sometimes it's just, oh, we try so hard to make it clear, but it's not clear enough yet. But that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's, you hear the truth.
Well, and then you guys have made pretty large investments into customer service and content creation and video production and doing a lot of that in house to that point, right? Is that you have these high end pieces of machinery that require a lot of training on how to use, and then the making sure that for customer satisfaction.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no degree in how to use a USCutter or how to make a great wall graphic. There's that education is hard to come by. So one of the things that we did recently is we actually took one of our salespeople who was really great technically off the phone, but he also made videos. He would do a lot of videos for customers. Like, you know what? It's easier if I just show you. I'll go make a video and I'll send it to you in a little bit. And it was worth it to us to actually take him from being inside sales into being content creator. And now full time, what he does is he makes 1 to 2 videos a week on how to do this or how to use this to just provide that value. And that's been really huge for us. And it's been worth it to us because we need to be able to provide, I think that really the way I look at it is good marketing is providing some kind of value and some kind of service. And I think that's what we can do is we can show you something in 2 minutes that would take paragraphs of copy on a website to do. And so having that video asset really kind of gives us an advantage. And you see it across the industry is everyone is racing to get the best content out there, which is really important and really of how to use it. What do I use it for? And kind of that combination of the right amount of information. And that's what we're always tweaking is Well, that's too much. Well, that's not enough. This isn't a master class. This is an introduction. Should we do a master class? Maybe we should. And that's kind of the next space in it is how much content is too much content. And I'll let you know when we get there, but I don't think we have too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of folks chase after content marketing from a brand and SEO perspective, and it's, as you guys know, it's a ton of work to be producing this stuff. But it makes a large impact, and I think it builds a lot of trust for and kind of a mindset for someone to continue to come back, because now USCutter is the trusted expert for the products that you guys sell.
Yeah, a lot of our competition comes from Amazon, and a lot of our competition comes from eBay, and we sell there too. But the difference is, sometimes if they're coming from a smaller company or a Chinese-based company, we're losing on price. And so what we try to do is position ourselves with those content pieces as a knowledge base of someone. When you're buying from USCutter, you're also paying for that peace of mind that when you pick up the phone, you're going to get somebody that has actually use the product or can point you in the right way, and to have that base of knowledge and to position ourselves as someone who's been in, a company that's been in the industry for a long time and have that established is really a difference maker. And that comes in the form of a lot of content for us. Definitely SEO has a piece to it of, we're very careful with how we title our videos. And then, we can also put those videos in a quick how-to PDF or ebook that then we can email to customers, or if the video isn't your thing, we also have that in other places on our blog, which we're updating now. So there's a lot of value in having those for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then and then a lot of that content's created with a pretty small team.
It's a team of one. Our team is called Josh, but and what's funny is I think with COVID, we've all had to be very flexible. And since we are based, we do have a warehouse in Tennessee. Josh actually decided to move to Tennessee, and he got a house there in this place called Finger, Tennessee, which I'm sure is lovely. It sounds like a great place to be from. But we sent down some equipment, and he set up his own studio at his house. And so he's got a home studio. We send him kind of all the information. We have some pre-production meetings, and then we kind of talk to what we want to talk about. And then he just puts these videos together. So it's not like they are overly produced, and they're not, we're not making Coen Brothers, but, they're really useful pieces of information that are very, very nice and clearly done. And I would say, I think that's a big thing that I've learned coming from, I grew up in the advertising agency world where, everything was a big production, and it takes $1 million and it takes 2 months to make a commercial. And to get out of that headspace and get to, video is really just the fastest, most clear way to convey an idea. Yes, it needs to look professional, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And you don't need to go through 3 rounds of editing and pre-production, and you don't need a director to get that valuable content out there. I think was a big takeaway for me that some of our top videos are just a person explaining something simply, how to make a sign, stuff that I think that, I tended to overthink things and try to make things overly produced, and just getting away from that has meant the world to us, because I think that frequency and that recency of content is really what serves the customer the best.
Yeah. And then, how do you guys plan, with Team Josh, in the pre-production, meetings, and kind of keeping it all pretty low key? How do you guys know what to produce? How do you get a sense on like the next video that's coming? Where, what does that, planning look like, or that you kind of have an idea on what you feel like your customers are going to want the most?
That's a great question. It's kind of a combination of things. One is the feedback that we hear just out there. We hear a lot of things, we make note of those questions. We look at what our top sellers are, and we look at what goes with those top sellers and what else can you do with those top selling. Okay, with this machine, most people are probably doing the most obvious thing, which is this. But what else can we do this machine to make it more useful and make it more versatile for a person's business. We also look at in SEO, what are the most common questions being asked kind of within these keywords, because those are the ones being searched. We look at really what are the more complicated things to explain on our product page, and we run some of our product pages. We've started to run them through the Who Cares test.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally look at the product page and I'm just, we're on the conference call and I'm yelling, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? And if our product page doesn't answer that question, we need to rewrite it. And we definitely need a video to show why you care and what this can do and why you need to buy it right now and don't delay and call this number.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, so it's a combination of all those things. And we're also very flexible. We definitely have a schedule. We have a list of videos we're going to produce, but if there's an innovation in the industry, if there's some strange anomaly that happens, if say a pandemic hits and there's a new type of signage that's created, or there's new ideas for how to work from home, we'll certainly do that too. That's the nice thing too, is we have that flexibility when you start to kind of scale down and work on frequency.
Can I steal the Who Cares test? I like that.
The Who Cares test? It works. It works with a marketing team, but it does not work with your family members.
Yes.
My wife could attest to screaming "Who cares" in someone's face is not going to win you any points.
Yeah, it's like the old 10-foot test for like layout design.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's absolutely the same thing.
Yeah, I dig it. And so switching gears a little bit, USCutter, we talked about the types of customers, DIY folks through some of the small business, but how does the website cater to those different types of customers? It seems like that some of them, there's probably some overlap in how they shop, but also some kind of different components for what like a small business might want compared to your DIY customer.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think that there's a couple of things. One is we started to realize that even with business to business customers, I think that there is a tendency for us to assume that they know more than they do and to tend to use that jargon. And so I think that there's really not such a thing as over explaining something. When we say HTV, why are we saying HTV? We should say heat transfer vinyl, so that there's no confusion. So I think across the board, clarity always works. I do think that things like the compare tool, when we have a quick comparison tool. So if you're business to business and you're really looking for, I need these specs or I know what I want, it's basically the Home Depot versus the Lowe's model of Home Depot has a lot of things. If you know what you want, it's a great place to go. But there's also the kind of model of kind of Lowe's that's more kind of consumer friendly. How can we help? So I think it's kind of a combination of those things. Having the right specs, but not right away, kind of down on the page where we're not blowing you away with specs. We do have an inside sales team, so if there is some confusion, we have a team that really works consultatively to help you. The videos help a lot. But I think really when you start looking at it, you have to look at what these customers are trying to do, and do we lay out our website in a way where the big customers are really at shops. Should we call them shop cutters? Should we call them craft cutters?
Mm-hmm.
Really start to self-identify the cutters a little bit to lead you down that road, where you can look at bulk discounts or industrial strength or perfect for this or perfect for that, and start to give some clues where the navigation kind of leads you to the right products based on really how the customer would shop versus what we would call it. I think that's another part of Who Cares that we're working on is getting to the point of let's think and let's shop like a customer would, and how do those customers segment, and does it make sense to call it HTV, or does it make sense to call it craft vinyl?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and every industry has their jargon. I think that's a really good point, because when we talk about UX or taxonomy within a site, and when we work together on the website build itself, we kind of talked a lot about this, is that that jargon is useful as short form for the person that wants it. It's kind of like the same person that's going to come back for a reorder because they've purchased the same thing every 2 weeks, and they know it, they know the SKU by memory, and they don't even really need anything because they don't want to look at a product page. They just want to punch in a number and hit buy. But then, on the flip side, and the same customer experience has to speak to the person that's the first timer, that knows absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Is we don't want to make it overly simple, but we really want to strive for clarity, for ease of use. We do have a huge search bar, so if you want to skip to, I just want this product, we made the search bar plenty big.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an important thing to look at and to really, get out, especially when you've got people in the industry for years and years and years to look at it with new eyes is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Previously I was in CPG, so they made the brilliant move of hiring a guy who's been in the dairy industry for 4 years to come do the marketing. So that was great because I didn't know anything, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that was helpful. From I think my biggest contribution was not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
You didn't have any of the jargon.
that's good spin zone right there, Keith. My
Yeah.
biggest contribution is not knowing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But it's true though, because like if you're, when you're so indoctrinated into any type of information and you're that expert, then the jargon feels really natural because you have all that information. And when someone new comes in, it is easy for experts to assume that everyone else has at least a base level of knowledge, which would be a false assumption.
Yeah.
On the personal side, we talk a lot about that, and like backcountry skiing, where you call it, there's called the expert halo, which means that an expert in a group can influence other people around you, and then they don't ask the right questions. But the same thing works for websites, because if you assume that everybody's an expert, then you're not going to give them wayfinding or the right information that's needed for a beginner to make good decisions.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think that there is no point in being unclear. I think that a website being clear, and I think it's the quote attributed to Einstein. I'm sure it's not him, but is, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really the key. Is we can share things in a way where we're going to give you the metaphor. We're going to give you, this is the Mercedes-Benz of vinyl, or this is, those kind of things, just to start helping you understand. Even if you're in the industry for years and years and years, clarity is always helpful. That simple language, those comparisons, all of that stuff is still just kind of that human-to-human interaction, and really not thinking about it as we're selling to a business, right? We're selling to a person who needs to buy this product.
Mm-hmm. Well, because in the end, whether you're buying for a business or you're buying for yourself, it's still a person buying the product.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is so everything's made, or all the products are that are sold are used to make something. What's some of the most like outrageous or interesting things you've seen folks make?
That's a good question. So there's a couple. One that is was surprising to me was, and we kind of talked about if we want to share this on social media, if it's going to be controversial. I have two. This is one. So one of them was, we actually have what's called high bake paint mask, which you use as kind of, you cut it out of the stencil and you put it on something, you paint over it with your Cerakote, and then you put it into an oven and it cooks it. And so what that does is it kind of lets the design kind of have that contrast between the metal coating and the uncoated part. And that is used mainly for guns and firearms. Mm-hmm. And so we were selling a massive amount of high bay paint masks to make guns. And I just thought, when I first heard about it, like, that's the most American thing ever, to decorate your guns. And I'm like, what are people putting on their guns? And so we started kind of digging into their Instagram pages and seeing what they were putting on there. And they're actually really impressive. I thought it was going to be like kind of weird, like gun fetishizing, but a lot of it was kind of either military stuff or just kind of these interesting designs, and really some impressive artwork. So it was something where it kind of changed my mind about that being weird. As soon as, you know, it's only weird until you don't really understand it and get in there.
Yeah.
The other one was when I first started. One of the things we did is we actually we're calling customers and doing a quick person-to-person survey, which was great for me to start understanding our customers. So I think I called 100 customers, and one customer was buying our sandblast mask, which is just literally, you know, you kind of you cut out what you need to, you know, you cover that and you blast it with a sandblaster, and it's basically mainly for concrete. And you know, I'm like, how's business? Oh, business is really good lately. That's great. And then I figure out, and I said, what do you do? He said, I make headstones. And I was like, and I just said, that's great to business as being good. I'm like, well, I guess that's not, I'm like, well, I hope, how do we grow your business? He's like, what do you want me to tell you? Have more people die? Like, it was this really awkward conversation that I couldn't wait to get out of, because I was just like, so we're talking about people, headstones, right? He's like, yeah. And you said business is good. He's like, sure is. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know what to say.
That's a hard one to follow.
Yeah, I was like, sounds great. Good luck. Good luck in the industry.
Yeah, let us know how we can help you.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know if you get to the point of, if you move into, you know, some other statues or something less morbid. That would be great.
Yeah. Helping him with marketing may or may not be the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
Be a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah. You know, so you know, the other, you know, kind of, you know, question on a similar vein is, you know, how you know, you guys' business has been affected by COVID, or just kind of trends in general for what you're seeing. You know, I think that you know, we've seen kind of a lot of success, and then also kind of a mixed bag occasionally for you know, how everybody's kind of survived through the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think COVID was really an interesting time for us, because I think, like everyone else, there was this big level of uncertainty that was going to happen. Are we going to shut down? Are we going to get bigger? You know, the initial thought was e-commerce is going to get really big. We were really well positioned because we are e-commerce and we're in the sign making industry. And as I mentioned, there was a huge demand for signs. Of every week, it was vaccinations here, tests here, 6 feet apart. Every company on earth needed, we're open, we're closed. There was signage needs. So there was a huge demand for materials, but also there were a lot of people that were deciding to work from home or leave their jobs and do something else. And now they had a stimulus check, which was just about the same amount of money as it takes to get started with one of our cutters. And so what happened is we just took off. There was a lot of the sign making, a lot of what needed to happen, a lot of the at-home workers, a lot of people selling and starting their own company, selling T-shirts, making signs, doing whatever, was huge for us. And it was a really big year in 2020 for us. We had a hard time staying in stock. Marketing took full credit for it. You know, I definitely showed a lot of really great stats and had really good PowerPoint presentations of how well all the marketing materials were performing.
As every great salesman does.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it had nothing to do with, and I think in 2021 it has somewhat leveled off. I think that it has kind of come back to, you know, kind of come back to the average, but I don't think it's ever going to be the same. I think the level of comfort that people have of ordering online is always going to be there. Mm-hmm. I think if anything, it's helped us really focus on that remote customer service of how important those videos are, how important our phone service is, how important our inside sales team is to understand and help customers to understand those things. Retail is definitely coming back, and that's valuable for us. But I think that those remote communications, both internally and externally, have. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that's a secret to anybody. It is really having that customer service in a way that we're there when you need us, because a lot of people can't come in or won't come in anymore and get that face to face,
or doesn't want to,
and the people that are, I mean, just every business that has succeeded in the last couple of years has had to be flexible and adaptable. And that's really what we see is just trying to adapt to what the customers want, how the customers want it, what they need, and be able to adjust to that and staff up appropriately and have the resources appropriately there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's, there's, Census Bureau puts out e-commerce statistics between, total retail and e-commerce. And, and of course there was, like a 36%, year over year growth in 2020. And, for the past decade, e-commerce has been growing at, 14%, 15% year over year, just, consistently eroding, percentage of sales of total retail. And, and so it doubled, as expected in that, during that time, but then, it's starting to, they're even talking about how it's starting to level off. So I think it was in Q3 of this year compared to last year was the first time in a few years where total retail grew at a larger percentage than e-commerce did. And, and I think to your point about leveling off, that will be an interesting thing to see, how that, if that trend continues to play out as, kind of, what you're seeing, what the Census Bureau is talking about, or if they're, if it'll continue to, something different's going to happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's hard to have that right scale of it's nice for us to have that retail presence, and we have seen that has increased, and I think there is some level of that interpersonal communication and some of that people just wanting to get out and shop and see things and talk to people, and so we're paying attention to that too to see if that's growing, and we want to meet the customers where they are. I mean, it's tough to be that agile, but I think that having that flexibility and just being one of the things I really like about USCutter is being unafraid, to test things and try things. And I think really failure is lack of trying. It's not because we tried something and it didn't work. At least we learned that it didn't work then. So I think that's really what's been helpful for us to be flexible is knowing that there's not a big fear of failure when we test things.
To that point, what's exciting for you that's coming down the pipe, whether it's a new technology or something that you're interested in trying out?
Well, I think that we were talking about, going back to the discussion about kind of selling to people, is starting to look at some of those, as I get older and grumpier and more cranky old manish and more scared of social media, it's hard for me to admit it, but I think that even when you look at things like TikTok that were, initially for just entertainment, just dance videos, those kind of things, is ultimately what that comes down to is it's a short, easy to access video, which is what we have been creating for a year now. And we have seen our competitors in this space, and it may be, especially when you're talking about crafters looking for ideas or looking for inspiration, or sometimes to even showcase what they're doing. We've actually seen some people live streaming, hey y'all, it's me, I'm going to USCutter, with their phone, walking into our store and kind of doing some of that. So we know that there is an industry there, and looking at not only Facebook and Pinterest, but Instagram stories, Instagram reels, and looking at TikTok and what kind of those emerging social medias are. We don't want to be the first one there, because I think ultimately it takes a while for that to mature and for that audience to grow. But I think that's what we're looking at, is kind of opening up more of those channels to get more of that information out there to more customers. And there may be a lot of people that aren't even aware that this is a possibility of making your own T-shirts. And it's fun. It's fun to make your own shirts. It's fun to make your own mugs. You can make your own team apparel. You can all these things. So I think that's one thing I'm excited about is to go after some of that stuff that typically we've kind of we're business to business, and that's not what we do. To get to the point of we're selling to people, and we need to be where people are.
Yeah. You're going to be a TikTok star with your, million followers, and
exactly. We're going to be
totally see it.
We're going to be We're going to be huge. We're going to be influencers. It's going to be amazing.
And what's going to be your TikTok name?
It's going to be Who Cares Test. I don't know. Maybe we'll be the cutting board or something. We'll have to think of something cool. But I mean, there's a lot of things, tips and tricks out there, how to reduce waste, how to solve problems. I think that ultimately, if we can get on TikTok with a reason versus just, I think it's something where we can provide information and solution and hacks and do that kind of stuff where it's useful and it's not just two goofy guys dancing in the warehouse for no reason.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's with all emerging platforms like that, you, as the audience grows, it becomes really impactful. I was more making a joke around thinking that you're going to be the TikTok rock star.
Absolutely. I'm all about that. I'm all about the social media, all about the driving the hype.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Well, good. Well, what else haven't I asked? What else is kind of new in your world and, and something you want to tell us about?
I think that for all of those who are not working with Overdose, you totally should. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Thank you. Yeah, perfect. It's a fantastic plug. Yeah.
No, I think that it's been for us. It's been like I was saying, really being unafraid to try new things. I think with retail and with social media, and we're looking at driving some innovation with some of our new machines. Is really all the things that come down to we don't know what we don't know. I'm not afraid to try things. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. So I think some of the new things coming down is in an industry where, as typically happens, there's innovation, and then innovation goes down market as it gets kind of less expensive to leverage those innovations. That's kind of where we are with our product development is looking at how we can create a lot of value for our customers. I think that there's really no shortage of ideas and no shortage of growth for us right now. I think we've grown very quickly in the past 10 years, and I just see that as there's a lot of potential to grow into potentially other areas, other countries. There's a lot of things that we could do. So it's hard to put my finger on one, but I think that that growth and expansion, especially of as people get more DIY, the technology is more available, and the skill set is more accessible now with all of the training that we're offering online, where you don't have to be a professional to start your own company. And I think that taking that away and making it less scary opens that market a lot to people that can do this as a hobby or a business.
Yep. Well, yeah. Well, and that's very exciting, and it's exciting to hear that you guys have been really successful, and you just moved into your new office, and which is also very exciting.
We've got a huge office. It's nice. I'm getting the hot tub installed next week and the putting green. It's going great. The gilded fountain. It's going to be nice.
The gilded chocolate fountain.
Yeah, I've got a chocolate fountain. I've got a person that just plays harp in the corner all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to come and work out of your office. Well, Sean, it was great to talk with you, and definitely appreciate the time today. Always good to catch up.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good talking to you, Keith. Good to see you. Thanks for reaching out.
Yep. All right. Have a good weekend, and everybody online, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.